Welcome back, everybody, to the Road to 1,000 Users. I'm John Mello. I run a software development company called PayHouse, where we build apps primarily using Bubble.io and another variety of other no-code tools. What I've been doing kind of on the side is creating an app to solve a problem for Bubble freelancers, people who are freelancing in Bubble, to help them scope work, deliver work, find prospective clients, and get paid. I think this is an area that no one's really nailed yet. And I've kind of been documenting my road to my first 1,000 users. I've been talking with people from freelancers and agencies from various countries, specifically in like South America, Africa, and Southeast Asia. When you say no code, it's like a dirty word, right? So I think part of the culture there in those countries is that technology is kind of a entry point to a better life and a better, like, kind of upping your position in society, right? So if you're learning how to code, it kind of it's a, there's a perception that you're going to be like, you're going to make money and you're going to be successful. So, and no code has not found its way into that. They don't consider like building with no code tools as part of tech yet. It's kind of just like, oh, this is playing around. Trying to start an agency or freelance in those regions, South America, Southeast Asia, and Central America, they come up with they have kind of a perception problem that no code tools really can't do what you want them to do. And I think even to the extent in the United States too, that's still the case. It's still catching on. I think it's been around a little bit longer, and people are warming up to the idea that you can build useful software using these tools. But at the end of the day, I think as a household name, Bubble is not really there yet. It's not, or any of the no-code tools are not really there yet. It's still kind of, there's an enthusiastic core base of people that use these tools and are successful with them, but it hasn't hit the mainstream, I would say. Even with the funding that they've just recently got, which is 100 million, and even though it's been demonstrated that you can build useful software with this platform, it still hasn't hit the mainstream, which I find very interesting. I wonder what that thing is going to be. Is it just time? Is it just like more time so that people can get acclimated to, this new way of building software? Or is it something that needs to happen? Is it like an event, like somebody, like a no-code tool or something built on no-code becomes, just so everywhere, something that everyone is using? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what that thing that's going to just kind of push it over into the mainstream is going to be. But for those that are struggling with that perception problem in the areas that I mentioned, I think the answer here is, for most non-technical people, they really don't care what stack you're using, right? They don't care what tech stack you're using. If they see results, if they see the software and they see you're listening to them, and they, you're delivering what they're asking for, and they can see it and feel it and use it, and it's real, I gotta believe that that's really what they care about. It's not like whether this is built in Django or React over Bubble. It's really more of like, I don't know if marketing yourself as a no-code development agency really does you any favors. You can say, like, if I wouldn't hide it necessarily either, right? If I have a founder or a client that I'm going to work with, I wouldn't like lie and say, yeah, it's built in JavaScript when it's really built on Bubble, even though Bubble is built on JavaScript. But I wouldn't hide that fact. I would tell them exactly what my process is, but I also wouldn't lead with it in the initial conversations, especially if like you're thinking of putting that on your website, like, we only use Bubble. It may make people not, like it may people right off the bat, they may think twice about working with you because you've led with, like this is the stack that I use, and there may be some perception problem about that stack. My suggestion is just say you're a software company. You build software. That is not a lie, right? You're building software. You're building apps. There's nothing wrong with saying that. And then as the conversation progresses, you can explain why you're able to do things faster and why you're able to do things cheaper. This is my secret sauce. Again, I wouldn't hide these things. I'm not embarrassed by it. I'm proud that I can build on anything, really, because I'm not a technical person. I've learned things through using Bubble over many years, but I would never hide that fact. But I don't know but in situations where you think that there is a perception problem in your area, I say just lead with, I'm a software company. That's it. You build software. And then as the conversation progresses and you start figuring out prices and negotiating, what you're going to charge them, that's when you can say, this is my stack. This is what I use to build software. These are some of the other projects that I've worked on. Why would someone say no to that? Like, why would somebody say no to getting cheaper, faster, better software than they could with a traditional development agency? Like, it doesn't make sense. But there is an education component to this. It is a new way of doing things. Actually, to be honest, though, is it even that new anymore? Bubble's 10 years old. They started in 2012, and in like tech years, that's old already. So it's funny it's calling it new. I think it's just beginning to get traction now, or it's just starting to cross over that chasm or whatever you call it. But it's been around for a while. I think Bubble is here to stay. Okay, so that's my advice for those of you that are finding that challenge where you're trying to build a community in those areas. Maybe you're trying to even get people to get in, other developers to explore Bubble as a career path. That's would be how I start those conversations. You don't have to say that you're a no-code development agency. Just say that you're an agency. Say that you're a software development agency. And when it gets to that point, then reveal what your secret sauce is or not. I don't know. It's up to you, really. That's just what I do, and it's worked for me. And also the thing to point out too, in that same vein, is like they have more visibility into how their app is being built. It's going to take them not like if they want to learn, if your client wants to learn a little bit about Bubble, they're going to learn a lot quicker and have a bigger part in the technical side of how their app is being developed than they would if it was built in JavaScript, which they're probably never going to take the time to learn because that's what they're paying you for, right? Bubble's a little different in that it's so close to, you can kind of get your hands on it and then want to take that next step to learn a little bit more. Like the client is able to be involved in that process by using Bubble, whereas they're 100% reliant on the developer in any other client developer software relationship. So that's another advantage, like getting them more involved. All right. That's all I have to say about that, I think. All right. So I just want to do quickly just a rundown of my stats for this week. I got picked up 2 new clients from last week. All right. So I've got 45 users total. Again, I am documenting my road to 1,000 users. I am at 45 right now. Goddamn, all of these messages. I am at 45 users right now, 23 pieces of feedback, 31 mom tests where I've talked to some Bubble freelancers who have the problem that I'm trying to solve. And I recently just added El Salvador to my list of countries with the freelancers that I've spoken to. So getting a pretty worldwide view of the problem here of scope creep and just the pain points in general that Bubble freelancers and agencies have, because that's really the audience that I'm trying to connect with and the audience that I'm trying to solve problems for. So that's it for me this week. It's going to be a short one. I don't think there's any questions in the Twitch channel. No, if there are, throw them in now. If you are watching this on YouTube, try and join the Twitch live stream, twitch.tv/bubblehack. I'm streaming every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. I'd like to get a conversation going around what your problems are as freelancers. And also how are you finding, if you are building an app, maybe you're not a Bubble freelancer, but you are you're building an application for a particular audience like I am. Tell me how you're finding your first 1,000 users. I think that's really interesting, and that's where the creative part of app development part of where the creativity comes from. Is like, how do you reach the audience that you're trying to solve a problem for in the first place? In my opinion, that's a lot more difficult to do that than it is to build the app itself. So let's talk about that. I'm out. I will speak to you next week. Thank you, everybody.